Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are taking a closer look at the Julie Chrisley case.
Oh yeah, this one is interesting.
It really is, and it seems like something ripped straight from a reality TV script.
Totally.
Except this time, the drama is unfolding in a courtroom.
Yeah.
You've sent over a stack of articles and analyses on this, and it seems like you're really trying to get to the bottom of what's really going on beneath the surface here.
Yeah, and I think you're right to dig deeper on this one, because this isn't just your typical, celebrity scandal. We're about to unpack how a family known for their seemingly perfect life on screen ended up in some very real legal trouble. And the sources you sent, they paint a fascinating picture not only of the crimes themselves, but of how the media shapes our understanding of these events.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Now, for anyone who hasn't been glued to this saga, can you give us the quick backstory on the Chrisleys?
Sure. So Todd and Julie Chrisley, stars of the reality show Chrisley Knows Best, known for their, over-the-top lifestyle, expensive cars, designer clothes, you name it. But what the cameras didn't show was the really complex scheme they were running behind the scenes to fund it all.
And that's where these financial crimes come in, right? It wasn't just overspending. This was deliberate and calculated fraud.
Absolutely. We're talking bank fraud, on a massive scale. We're talking over $30 million in loans obtained through fraudulent means. They created fake documents, inflated their income. They even manipulated credit reports to deceive banks into loaning them money they had absolutely no intention of ever paying back.
Wow. Talk about flying too close to the sun. It seems like the Chrisley's house of cards was bound to crumble eventually. But they kept this going for over a decade, right? How did they manage to pull that off for so long? They used this tactic called check kiting, which, I don't know, it sounds almost too simple to be true, honestly.
Right. And it's actually much more thought out than simply juggling money. They were exploiting the delay between depositing a bad check, one that's going to bounce, and when the bank actually realized it was no good, this created a temporary illusion of wealth, allowing them to pay off old debts with new loans, and all the while maintaining this image of success.
So basically, they were playing a high-stakes game of financial hot potato, hoping they wouldn't be the ones holding the exploding spud when the music stopped.
Exactly, and for a while it seemed like they were, masters of the game. But as they say, all good things must come to an end.
And that's when this house of cards came crashing down.
It did. Eventually, the lies caught up with them. Todd Chrisley declared bankruptcy, and investigators started digging deeper, and the whole scheme unraveled. The Chrisleys were charged with bank fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so they messed up big time. But here's where this deep dive takes an interesting turn. Julie's initial sentence of 7 years was overturned. What happened there?
So it's interesting, right? It wasn't about saying Julie's innocent. The court agreed she was in the mix. But the appeals court, they focused on a technicality. It was all about how W, the judge, determined the exact time frame of her involvement, specifically with the bank fraud.
Ah, okay. So less of a get-out-of-jail-free card and more like a legal rewind button.
Exactly. It was like, hold on, you can't just lump all those years together. They ruled there wasn't enough hard evidence to definitively say she was part of the scheme before 2007.
Which, on the surface, might sound like a small detail. But I'm guessing in the eyes of the law, that's huge.
A massive difference.
Right, because sentencing isn't one size fits all.
No way.
It's not like you committed fraud, 7 years, see ya.
Nope.
There's a difference between someone who, dips a toe in the wrong pool versus swimming in it for years.
Exactly. The duration, the depth of involvement, it all matters. Longer period of criminal activity usually means a harsher potential sentence. So for Julie, those earlier years, if they were taken out of the equation, that could have drastically changed things.
Okay, so going into this resentencing, it was a real battle then, right? Mm-hmm. Each side trying to paint their picture of what justice should look like.
Oh, absolutely. High-stakes legal maneuvering, for sure. The prosecution, they were pushing hard to maintain that original 7-year sentence. Their argument boiled down to, even with a slight timeline shift, Julie was still a major player in this whole mess. They painted her as someone who enjoyed the lavish lifestyle, benefited from the ill-gotten gains, and they really hammered home this idea that she didn't initially grasp how serious this was.
Like a lack of remorse early on really hurt.
Yeah, it played a part.
I'm guessing her defense team wasn't just going to roll over, right?
Oh, they came ready to fight. They were very strategic. They really highlighted the differences between Julie and Todd's roles, emphasizing her as more of a follower, someone swept up in it all, not the mastermind.
Okay, so playing up that husband-wife dynamic a bit.
A little bit, yeah. And get this, they brought up all the work she'd done in prison. Over 70 certificates. They wanted to show she was taking responsibility, turning her life around.
70. That's commitment right there.
Right. They were saying, look at this changed woman.
But I'm sensing the prosecution wasn't swayed by a few prison accomplishments.
Not really, no. They kept coming back to the crime itself. The sheer audacity of it. 11 years living this lie, flaunting wealth built on deception, while others suffered the consequences. Their point was, this wasn't a slap on the wrist kind of deal.
You can see that side too, right? We can't forget about the victims in all of this. This wasn't just about the Chrisleys and their lifestyle.
Exactly, and that's what's often misunderstood about white-collar crime.
People think, oh, it's just money, no one got hurt.
Right, but it's far from victimless. Banks lost money, that trickles down, higher fees, stricter loans. It impacts everyday people just trying to make ends meet.
It's a chain reaction.
Exactly. And, I once worked with a small business owner, lost everything because of a similar scheme. It's not just numbers on a balance sheet. It's lives, dreams getting shattered.
Right. It becomes very real very quickly. So in the end, the judge decided to stick with that original 7-year sentence. So where does that leave Julie and, I guess more importantly, their family?
Well, that's the heartbreaking part. This isn't just about Julie and Todd. It's about their children, too. Their lives have been completely upended by this.
Yeah, it really puts a human face on it.
It does. And the impact on the children is, it's really sad. Savannah, the eldest, she's only 27, but she's basically had to become a parent to her siblings.
Gosh, that's so much responsibility on someone so young.
It really is. And then you have the younger ones dealing with their teenage years on top of everything else, trying to figure out who they are with all of this going on. It's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then there's Savannah being so vocal, advocating for her parents.
Right.
Even speaking with the Republican National Convention, which, wow.
Yeah, that was a bold move.
It was. And it kind of makes you think about this whole thing differently,
I see what you mean.
Like, you can judge the actions, but there's still this family at the heart of it.
Right. Savannah's voice, it adds this whole other layer of complexity.
It does.
Makes you confront the human cost, even when you might be quick to judge otherwise.
Absolutely. It's like, you can't forget, these are real people.
Exactly. And it reminds us there are always multiple sides to every story, especially when families are involved.
For sure. It's a good point. So even with the resentencing, it sounds like this case might not be over yet, huh?
Yeah, Julie's lawyers have said they plan to appeal. This could drag on for years. More legal battles, more expenses, and just more uncertainty for everyone.
It's a stark reminder that the wheels of justice, they don't always turn quickly.
They don't, and even when they do, it's not always a clean resolution.
That's very true. Well, this deep dive into the Julie Chrisley case has really opened up a lot of layers.
It has.
We've gone from reality TV to the complexities of the legal system, family dynamics, the impact of choices. It's a lot to process.
It really is a lot to think about.
It is, and it makes you wonder, what does a just outcome even look like in a situation like this? There's no easy answer, is there?
No, not at all.
It's something to keep in mind as we, or anyone, I guess, navigates these kinds of situations. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive, everyone. And until next time, keep asking those tough questions, stay curious, and we'll see you on the next one.